Hello everyone. In the last lesson, we learned about achieving polymorphism using function overloading. That was a static polymorphism. Today we will see in this lesson about inheritance. So inheritance is the property of object-oriented design where we create hierarchy of classes. What I mean here is that there is a general class with members that can be accessible to more specific inherent classes. The general class is called as the base class and the inherent class is called as the derived class. Let us see by an example. I will copy the existing project, paste it, rename it to inheritance, close the project, then we'll delete the temporary files. In the source file, come to main.cpp. I will remove the previous lessons code and here also. So what I will do is I will create a class called as sensor and it will be having a private attribute called as data, and we will have public attributes called as like I can take any of the public attribute like okay, I will take a simple function in its sensor. Okay, and let me just print up a statement initializing all the sensors. New line, carriage return, and semicolon. And I will create one parameterized constructor. Okay. So it will hold the data and I will initialize the data here and open and close the bracket. Also, I will have one function to get the data. Okay. And here, what I will do is I will print okay, here I will just return the data. Okay, nothing more than that. Simple. And what I will do again now, we have a base class. So this sensor class is the base class. Like we can have different types of sensors connected to our device, like temperature sensor or the humidity sensor or the pressure sensor. So we can have multiple subclasses. So what I will do here is I will create another uh, temperature sensor. For example, we will take example of a temperature sensor and I will inherit the base class. So to inherit the base class, what we do is we add the access specifier and the class name. And that is how we inherit the class. Here, if I have the private attribute called as int threshold, so we can have access of data in the temperature sensor, but we cannot have access of threshold in the sensor class. So the base class uh, uh, attributes can be accessed in the our derived class and derived class attributes cannot be accessed in the base class. Okay, so let us now create a public specifier, and here I will initialize our temperature sensor. So to initialize our temperature sensor, I will pass the threshold and I since I need to pass the data also, so what I will do here is I will involve sensor data. So this is how we pass the sensor data into the temperature, means derived class attribute uh, base class attribute to the derived class attribute. And now next is what I will pass the threshold. Okay, open close the bracket, and now I will have init the temperature sensor. Init temperature sensor. Okay, in here I will print as initializing temperature sensor. New line and carriage return and semicolon. And what I will do here is I will uh, add the get threshold. Okay, so we will get the threshold value and we will simply return threshold. And if I want the data to be printed, if I want the data to be printed for this, I will write int get data, and here I can, okay, everywhere let us add a printf statement so that there is no confusion. Sensor data, okay, new line and carriers return, and printf. Okay, no problem. If we are using get data, we can do the same printf statements in our main function call. So that is not an issue. And here we can get temperature data and temperature threshold. Let me denote it so that there is a clarity. And here I will return the data. Okay. So this is how we create our temperature class, temperature sensor class, that is the derived class, and the sensor class, that is the base class. So now let us create an object of the temperature sensor. So temperature sensor will have an object T sensor, and here we need to pass two datas. One is the sensor data, that is like if it is reading 40, and we can have a threshold data like if we have a threshold of 2 degrees. Okay. Now what I can do is I will call the functions. Okay. So to call the function, I will do init temperature sensor. Okay. And object T sensor. I will call the get temperature threshold. And what I can do is like if I want to printf, I will put it in the printf statement directly. %d, comma, and here I will end the bracket. I will close the bracket and mention that this is the temperature threshold data. Okay. So that is it. And for our temperature data, what we can do is we will print a temperature data %d, comma, OT sensor dot get temperature data. Okay. Let us close and let us build this first. So we have error here. Okay, we should have int data and then it's done. So we are passing two variables to the temperature sensor constructor. Okay, let's see another. So we are having data as the private initializer, and since our data member is a private within the context of our sensor class, so we cannot directly access our uh, data in our get temp data. So there are two ways like we can access in our derived class. So the first way here is like if I want, I can use the get data method of the base class to access it. So this is one way. Okay, let's build it now. And like it is built. And now what I will do is I will run it on my board, press OK, turn my Teratom on. Okay, it's here. We will connect to the serial port. Okay, so let me press the reset button. So here you can see that we have got an access to our like data variable that is a private in the base class. And the other way how we can access it is using when we declare the private variables as protected. Okay. So when it is a protected and we are having a public access to the uh, base class, then we can again directly access, we can directly return the data from here. And if I build it now, so it is built and let me run it. Let me clear the screen and press the reset button. So here you can see again we can have the access. So the private members of a class, base class, cannot be accessed the uh, by the derived class. Okay, so it is the example of inheritance, and you saw that how the access specifiers protects or encapsulates the data that is being shared between the classes. That's it. Thank you, everyone.